I'm Talmadge Layton, farm in Durham County. We have about 200 acres here that we farm, and it's getting harder and harder to do it. Fertilizer prices, gas prices, diesel prices, repair prices. We had almost $50,000 worth of repairs here on the farm last year, and it was difficult to get parts. They put a stormwater fee on agriculture. Even though agriculture is doing all of the best management practices that the city is trying to get into and trying to do to reduce their nutrients going in, we're already under the gun to reduce our nutrients here. We're having to do that, and we're also having to pay a stormwater fee for all of our land, which the stormwater fee on this small farm we have here is getting on up there close to $2,000 a year. And that on top of the fertilizer prices that have gone from $8,000 a tanker load of nitrogen to $24,000 a ton, tractor trailer load. And we can't raise the hay and stuff we need to maintain the income coming in on the farm, to have the cows enough feed to last them through till spring. It got so expensive that we usually buy a tanker load and a half here on this farm every year. We bought 1,500 gallons last year, and by cutting back that much on nitrogen we put out, we didn't have the crop that we normally have in the summer, and it's made it really tough. I've had to stop selling hay to people to generate income. And now my CPA is telling me, you lost too much money, they're going to stop you from farming because you're going to be a hobby farmer because you're not making money. The stormwater fees is a big impact to us in the last couple of years, because even though they promised us it wouldn't go up much, it's more than doubled since they started about 3 years ago or 4 years. And they're taking our money to give it to other people to put in best management practices on other parts of the county, even though as agriculture we are under the gun to reduce our nitrogen, our phosphate, and get within a certain limit. And we've been able to meet those goals over the last few years, mainly because of all of the development and all of the farmland that's taken out of the agricultural end of it. And it's just been, if things keep going like they're going, there's going to be no agriculture in Durham County. Why would you want to work so hard as we do and then pay out of your savings account to cover the bills at the end of the year? This is a lot of hard work for having to buy a job. But I actually have another farm up the road a little ways, and the land that adjoins that farm has been sold to a developer, and they're talking about putting 600 houses in on the piece of property that adjoins my farm up there. And when they came out with their urban boundaries this time, they took the farm out of the urban boundaries. So we'll be dealing with city services and the bus lines and everything coming out. And it'll be, can you imagine how many cars? Can you imagine how many cars are going to be there at 500 to 600 houses all the way around the development? It's a 2-lane road. As you can tell by my hat, I'm involved with preserving farmland, and we do everything with that committee, advise the county commissioners and stuff and what they need to do to help keep us in production. Because as I've said a while ago, the farms actually cost the county almost nothing.
That's right.
We have very little crime. We don't have fires very much. It's just we don't need a lot of police protection. We don't need a lot of fire protection.
What do you think about Durham City Council and their approval of all these developments?
It seems like there's a double standards now. They won't let us go out here and tear up a field if it's erodible. We cannot tear up a field and plant it if it's erodible without having some kind of plan to go on, and they check us every year and make sure we're staying within our plan. And I go see, I drive down the road and I see development being put in, and there's streams going right down through the piece of land, and they're covering up the streams, putting a sediment pond on one end of it and hauling dirt in, and that water's got to go somewhere. It's going to go And I see some of these places that look like you might be able to build one house on it, and they're putting 30 condominiums in it, and I still got questions as to how they're gonna get 60 cars in there with 30 condominiums on a lot big enough for a house. I get the impression that city council just wants to fill up the county with tax producing income, whether it hurts the county or not. And we're getting so much stuff now in the city limits. That's one thing, but carry the city limits out in the middle of the country just so they can put them in and do away with the, what is it? You're only supposed to have 6% impervious surface. Don't just stop you from building in the county. And if they put a city limit sign on it, then they can put them 5 feet apart. They can have all of these Grey Poupon houses and apartments. And
It goes up to 70% impervious surface.
when they first started doing that, they told us that they were going to build at a higher density, but they were going to replace the higher density with open spaces and trails and open land and that kind of thing. And maybe they're putting it somewhere. I just don't see it. All of my life in Durham County, there's been building. Most of it was
Sustainable.
houses, and they would use 100 feet back from the road, and everything beyond that, we still had to farm. But now they're tearing up hundreds of acres of trees that've been there for generations, and leveling everything out. And it's kind of like the Army. The Army, they tell me in the Army, if you want a wife, they'll issue you one, or if they think you need a wife, they'll issue you one. Well, these developers are taking out all the trees, and if they think there needs to be a tree there, they'll put it out. And 50 years from now, the tree will be big enough to replace the ones that were taken out when they built the place. But it's just things that I hate to see.